Hey, familia y amigos, welcome to another episode of Teachable Moments with Jay El Maestro, founder of Don't Limit Your Identity Foundation. On this episode, I'm bringing on a good friend of mine who's near and dear to my heart. He's a man of faith, husband, father, and an entrepreneur. Allow me to bring on Tom Weiler. Tom, welcome to our show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, Tom. I'm super excited. I know that you and I recently met for coffee. We were catching up. It's been a few years that we've seen each other. And you were sharing your story. Your story of, you and I met over at Oakleaf Community Mortgage.
Yep.
And you were telling me about your journey with your entrepreneurial route now. And I'm like, you know what? I have to have you on the podcast. I'm excited about what you're doing with Weiler Barbecue LLC. Tell them about a little bit about your background, how you led to where you're at today, and we kind of start from there.
Yeah. Obviously you know my name. I'm Tom Weiler, owner of Weiler Barbecue. We're out of Plainfield, Illinois. Also serve Joliet, Shorewood, Naperville, Oswego, pretty much everywhere in the Chicagoland area. Very interesting start to my barbecue journey. Happened about 10 years ago. It's first year wedding anniversary for me and my wife, Laura. And she was like, well, what would you like as a gift for 1 year wedding anniversary? And I've always cooked. I've cooked since I was a little kid. At the time I was 35, there's that old running joke of you either get really into smoking meats when you turn that age or you get into history. So I was like, I think I want a smoker. And she's like, you'll never use that. And I was like, I don't know. I kind of want to dabble into smoking meats and stuff. And lo and behold, she surprised me with my first smoker, which was this little electric box smoker from Masterbuilt. Very first thing I did after I was like over the moon excited was ran to the Jewel and got the biggest pork shoulder I could possibly find. Didn't know what I was doing. Threw it in, followed some directions on a YouTube video I found. Like 8-9 hours later, pull it out, thinking, all right, it looks great. Couldn't shred the thing. It wasn't even edible. We ended up throwing it out, ordering a pizza. But that didn't stop me. I got really into it. There's just something about it. And it was just a different way of cooking. It was a different culinary path for me. I've always been into doing cooking. Leading up to doing Weiler Barbecue, I spent 25 years of my career in video production and marketing, doing all that stuff and being a filmmaker, and always would cook, but I always liked cooking because it was like a relaxing thing for me, so I never wanted to pursue it as a career, and here we are. I think I hit my limit of where I was going to go in my career as a marketer and a video production person. And I just thought to myself, there was a transition point happening. And I joined a networking group, a good friend of ours, Joe Lagilia, out in Plainfield. He runs a networking group, Above and Beyond Networkers. And I joined that group in January of 2023 and as Weiler Barbecue. And that's where I met Rick Wolf, who at the time was the sales executive for the Joliet Slammers baseball team.
Very cool.
And about 2-3 weeks later, get a phone call. I was actually in the way to a shoot for Oakleaf and got a phone call. And he was like, hey, man, I got an opportunity for you. To be a concessionaire at the Slammers for the 2023 season. Can you meet with us and stuff? After I got over like what just happened, I said, yeah. And fate had it. I went into that meeting, brought samples, and because of my marketing background, I had a 23-slide presentation of how I could do all the stuff, including getting into the suite packages that they had. So once that happened, I was, I'm like, well, this is it. This is where I'm meant to be. This is where God wanted me to be. It took a long time. Even when I was a kid, I'd dream up menus of restaurants and stuff like that and just didn't pursue it. I pursued, my other passion. And I still have a passion for those things, but this is what I love to do. And I think for me, the biggest thing is I get to feed people and I get to create an environment where they can recharge and reconnect through food because, food is the main source of go to any party, go to any event. Everyone congregates either around the kitchen or where the food's at. And I think that's where, memories are made, really great conversations are had, reconnections are had, just being able to refuel the biggest satisfaction for me is when a person really thoroughly enjoys a meal.
Yeah.
It's not about, obviously, we're entrepreneurs, business owners, we like to make money, but that's not the forefront of it. The forefront of it is bringing something and being of service to another person. And if it takes them and changes their perspective on something or makes their day a little bit better because of something that you were able to do for them, then that's where it's at for me. So
Love that. I love
yeah.
that. And you touched on you know what your previous career was and then how you led to this, but you always had a passion. As a kid, you were creating that menu. Was there anything that got in the way that made you not still continue going that direction in the as far as the food industry?
Well, Jurassic Park in 1994.
Oh.
I went to see that movie with my mom at the time, and I was doing film and making stop go movies and with cars, and I had an old VHS player and an audio mixer, and figured out how to do like take little clips from the Blues Brothers and movies and like put my car crash scenes in there and stuff.
Okay.
Like I was always creative in that regards, but it got to a point for me where I what I wanted to pursue for a career I really wanted to enjoy, but there was just the thing about cooking for me was I wanted it to be a relaxation point for me.
Okay.
Something where I could just like, because when I'm cooking at home, and even now, unless it's a rush, uh, I just forget about things. It's just like a calming thing for me, and so that's primarily the reason I didn't want to get into a career like that and then end up hating the very thing I love so much. So I realized that when I was like 13, 14. So like I just pursued
Yeah.
film and all that, and it's a career that served me very well because that's a career a lot of people get into and then they don't end up doing anything with it. And so and I still love it. Still go to the movies, still geek out on camera gear and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean but I geek out just as much on trimming briskets and selecting the right meats and different culinary techniques and just trying new things. Right now, my obsession is cast iron.
Okay.
I've built my collection out. I don't think I'll probably cook with anything other than that unless I absolutely have to. Just love it. So yeah.
Can you tell me why, as far as the cast iron, why you love it so
Cast
much?
iron, honestly, it's just for me. There's something rustic about it. It's incredibly versatile. What you
Okay.
can do, you can bake with it. You can sear with it. You can put it on a smoker. You can put it on a grill. You can put it on an open flame. You can put it in the oven. They're easy to clean once you get them really well seasoned, and there's a flavor point to it too that I really can't explain. And then also, and this is kind of fact or fiction, but because of the iron in it,
Mm.
it also has like really 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 tiny health benefits. But that's not real reason. The real
I
reason
feel
is
better now.
yeah, I just really love I just really love to cook with it. If I throw anything in the smoker now, it's going in cast iron and just it's heavy, and it's honestly can last generations too. If you take really good care of it, it will last generations, and you can't really say that about any other pot or pan. So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, like you, I've always enjoyed cooking. At one point, in high school, I got a job at Applebee's, and they had me in the kitchen washing dishes, and I felt it was so hot that to me, I would easily get a headache. So I thought to myself, I'm like, you know what? If I go to culinary arts school, I don't think I could be a chef because I'm sure it's going to be hotter than this or same level. And the migraines I used to get because of the heat,
Hmm.
it would get to me. But I enjoy it now for my family. I barbecue. My kids at home, they tease my wife. They tell her, "Hey, let Jason season the meat. It has a better flavor to it than you, than yours." So, but she doesn't mind. She enjoys it as well. So, but I'd love to practice the way how you evolved to where you're at today. Because even for me, I enjoyed watching this Netflix series where they were all bunch of different people doing barbecuing from different countries, and there was a gentleman from Jamaica where I felt like he and I could relate because they use like the plantain leaves, and I'm like, wow, that's so unique. I would never think to use that on the grill, and how that could add a different flavor to it. So
Hmm.
I love that you have that serving heart, and you mentioned, how it brings people together, and I find that to be true because I know that's one battle that I have with my own doctor. That she's like, Jason, you got to watch what you eat, and my wife's like, why do you say that comment? That's such a, her exact words. That's such a fat comment, like a fat guy could
Yeah,
think.
yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
I tell the doctor, I say, I'm sorry, it's hard for me to cut back. Food makes me happy. It just does.
It's
But
intended to. I mean,
yeah, and it's not the I I don't mind eating veggies, but it's that meat, that pork tenderloin. I mean, the brisket, everything that you do, I love. I think it adds great flavor and so on. So, yeah, it's definitely a battle for me. I know you and I talked about this when we got together, how blessed we are to have our wife support our entrepreneurial journey. And I always talk about what Brother Phil Lagiglia, shout outs to him, shout outs to Joe Lagiglia, who you shared. I always mess up their last names, but great men of God. But, God, family, and then everything else. And I feel you carry those core values as well.
yeah. That Phil, man. He huge mentor of mine for business and leadership and the time I was with Oakleaf, and he still runs the platform to this day. It's faith, family, and business. And he always said the first two have to be right before the third one can work, and it's 100% accurate. And it's something I carry into my business. So my core value, I have 5 core values for my business. The first one is faith. You can't serve two masters. Everything's for God's glory. Second one is family, and third one is commitment. The fourth one is grit, and the fifth one is being of service or being a good human.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way. And I've got my. I was telling you before we hopped on this. I have my Fab Five of employees that I have, all young kids. But I trust them. I know that when I'm not there, they're representing me and my brand well. But they follow those 5 core values, and I think that's like one of the most. You have to build a foundation around core values, and if you set that precedence up front, you're gonna grab people that you want to be in your organization or be a part of your team are going to gravitate towards being a part of that. And I've been blessed enough to have those individuals be a part of that, and it's really awesome. And it has a immense amount of challenges, especially being in the food industry. But yeah, I mean, if you can, anybody out there, entrepreneurs are wanting to be getting into starting a business, doesn't matter whatever it is, you have to have your core values down, and you have to know what your identity is.
Yeah.
Because if anything ever goes astray in any of that stuff, that's your core that you go back to realign yourself or realign your staff, or who you're working with, or all of that stuff. So, and it's
Love it.
also what your clients end up, or your customers end up knowing you for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's so true. And I love that Brother Phil did that. And, I've heard people talk about that, but he brought it to the workplace. I remember in our
Mm-hmm.
meetings, he would lead with prayer. I remember our one on one sessions, our business plan had that built in it. And I'm like, wow, I've never seen this before. And it's definitely something that I've implemented here at my office where, we lead our day with prayer. Then we talk about, highlights of whatever success we've had, whether that be, a client we served or so on, and then what are our commitments? What are we looking to achieve, and how are we going to get there? How do we close the gap? But leading with God in the center of it all. And even I had a client that she was referred to me, and she is a woman of faith, and she's like, it's crazy. She's like, I pray to God that as I'm building this business and getting it off the ground, that whoever I connect with is a person of faith. And she brought that to my attention because right next to my desk, I have Jeremiah 29:11.
Mm-hmm.
That to me is one of my favorite verses. It was something that came to me during a dark time in my life and made me realize, hey, you know what? Stop worrying about things. God has a plan for you to prosper, and everything's going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine. But I love that you still pursued your first path, your first passion, which was in the marketing space because it brought us together. If
Right.
not, I would have never met you.
Right.
So,
Right.
and it's you that I led with this podcast being Teachable Moments, because when we connected, you were helping me get that, at that time, doing the mortgage business, trying to get it off the ground and meeting with local businesses. And you brought to my attention, hey, Jay El Maestro, Teachable Moments. And we never got that opportunity to bring it to life, but it's still stuck in the back of my mind. And eventually I brought it. I said, okay. But it was you that planted that seed. So thank you for that.
Oh man, I appreciate you saying that. That's awesome. I'm glad that it's all in God's time and all in the when it's meant to happen, and He directs that traffic and then that opportunity pops up. So I'm really glad that we're here now and blessed to be a part of this show and be able to share my story. So thank you.
Oh, absolutely. You're welcome. It's an honor to have you here. I've tried your food before. It's great. I know that you lead it with passion and with that genuine care to make sure that you create that spark when someone takes that first bite in it. Um, Let me ask you now, you're reaching close to what anniversary right now? Because I know you're not far from.
Yeah, so I officially started my business February 22nd of 2023. That was after I got the nod that I was going to be at the Slammers, and I literally had 4 weeks to get all the paperwork, the permits, the paperwork with the state, bank accounts, insurance, you name it, everything, and even getting inspected with the health department at the ballpark, and I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I just like it was just like here it is, and buying an actual smoker that could handle the volume of people that come in and out of the ballpark, and it was just it it was lots. So like February 22nd this year, I'll be entering into my third year of going
Congrats.
of business. Thanks. Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I don't care what industry you're in or whatever. If you can get through the first 2 years, and it doesn't kill you or you don't quit,
Yeah.
then you're on the other side of it. And I'll never forget the opening night. I had a cavalcade of people rented out a suite. You know, Joe, Phil, bunch of friends I knew, people that I hadn't seen in a while. They all went, and um, it was. I remember getting there at 1 a.m. because I had to cook there,
Wow.
and cooking everything, prepping everything, and it was 6:30, and everything went up, and it happened. And I don't remember after that much until like the end, and then I was like extraordinarily tired. Um, but I do remember some of the photos I took. One of which is obviously with Laura and my two boys, Wyatt and Eli. And then the other thing, I couldn't have my moment. I even had them cheering from the stands, Weiler Barbecue, and stuff. But the it all kind of came together, and I had like my moment. I was holding Eli at the time. He was 4, no, 3, and fireworks were going off because it was a Friday night, and then that's when it settled in. I was like, I did it, and it was like that cool moment, and I'll never forget that. And then after that, I was off to the races, and I built quite a name for myself, and um, it is that whole entire experience was incredible and crazy, and I spent pretty much every pretty much every day outside of the days where they had road games. I was there. When you're talking about a 6 game swing, and you're starting your day at 1 or 2 in the morning, and not getting home till 11 o'clock at night, and then going back at 2 in the morning. Sometimes I ended up having a key to the suites, and sometimes I would just take a nap on the couch after
Wow.
everyone left the stadium and stuff. So it took a lot of dedication, but that's in anything you do. You gotta know that you're gonna put in 1,000% more work than you ever would at a normal job. And if you think you're gonna go into it and just phone it in, or just be like one of those people that just touch it and do it when you feel like it, you're never gonna make it anywhere. And it's gonna feel, and I still feel like I haven't gotten anywhere. But then I take a step back when I get a chance to. I take a step back and look at the fact that some of the accomplishments I've made, and I'm like, man, I've actually come pretty pretty far along in a very short period of time. And those are the things that reinvigorate me, because you do get tired, and there are moments where it's like, man, I just want to like get in my pajamas and just chill, man, you know, and not do anything.
Yeah.
And it's also a commitment, like you were saying, with your family. My kids don't see me as much as they used to. My wife, Laura, she has been incredible, and she's taken on you know, the responsibility of handling all the stuff at home and being with the boys. And that's the most important and hardest job of all,
Yeah.
is that. And so when I have those moments where I walk in the door and then she's like, here you go, you know sometimes I'm just like,
Yeah.
but then, but you just rally, and you want to get, for me it's like, want to give her a break, and then you want to spend time with the family and stuff like that. So where I was in 2024 is a lot different than where I'm going to be in 2025, because there'll be moments, well, March to October is my hay. That's where I'm busy. But I'll have opportunities and moments to be with the family, whereas last year I was tied to um, a place that ultimately didn't work out and I had to walk away from, but I was there all the time, and I didn't see my kids or my family at all, and it wasn't worth it. And you got to know when to make those decisions and transition out, even if it's difficult. And then you have to get really comfortable with failing, because you're going to do it a lot.
Yes.
And I do it like almost every day. It feels like it. And then you have those 1% where it's like you gotta, yeah,
Yeah.
and then it's right back to the chaos.
I
So
appreciate you sharing that, because a lot of people won't.
yeah.
And when someone looking from the outside in,
Mm-hmm.
like I've had someone say recently to me, "Oh, you're fine financially." I said, "Well, when you're a business owner, there's a lot of challenges you go through, and we're in the beginning phase. We're just getting started.
Yeah.
Like you, I celebrated 4 years. I'll make my fifth year come August." But truth be told, I'm 3 years as an American Family agent. My first year, I started with another company, and I had to shut that door. So I started, got it going, did a full build out, and had to shut that down. And I was devastated, and I thought I was going to go back to the corporate world. But my wife, as strong as she is, she's like, "Nope, you weren't happy. You're not going to go back to that space. Continue to fight for your dream, and it's just time for us to wear a different jersey. We're going to find another insurance company that you're going to represent, and let's go at it, and let's trust in God. God didn't open the door for it to close. Keep that faith going." So God and my wife were the two that kind of kept me going. But
Yeah.
it's not easy. It's a challenge. And like you said, now making your 3 years in, you have to celebrate that and celebrate the small victories along the way, because many after a year would toss in the towel. And many out from looking from the outside in think it's so easy. They're like, "Oh yeah, I want to own my own business." I had someone share with me, "Jay, yeah, I just want to have control of my own time, and I think it's more chill." I'm like, "No."
No, man, you have no control of your time, and
Right.
you sure don't. You're sure not rolling in the dough. And that's the thing. A lot of people think, oh, yeah, you're a business owner, you got to be successful, and you're making big money. What they don't realize is all the expenses and the costs that come with that.
Right.
You got payroll. For my industry, you got food expenses, which of late has been not fun to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have your rent, your leases, you have equipment that you have to keep up with, you have to invest in new stuff, you have to, and then on top of that, trying to keep yourself going as well. And it's no picnic. And there are moments where I'll wake up at 2 in the morning and I'll
Yeah.
just be like, okay, and then I can't sleep. And like the other day, I was up at 2 in the morning. I fell asleep at like 9:30. I watch wrestling. It's like one of my
Okay.
things. I'm a big fan, and for me, it's entertaining, and I don't have to think very much about it. And I fell asleep, and I usually do about halfway through the 3 hour program because I'm dead tired, and then I woke up at like 2 in the morning, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this, and what about this? And oh man, I didn't think about that and this and that. Because when you're operating as a small business owner on your own, It starts and ends with you, and if you end up having your head on a swivel, um, you know, it's crazy. It's not for the weak minded or faint of heart or people who aren't emotionally or mentally strong.
Yeah.
It's just not. I would say don't do it.
You definitely nailed it. But when I think
Yeah.
of don't limit your identity, I think of you because I mean, it's hard. For any entrepreneur, it's hard and takes time. It takes commitment. Someone asked me the other day, "Hey Jay, what do you recommend if someone's looking to go that route?" I said, first and foremost, find a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
Learn as much as you can about that space before you jump into it because it'll help avoid some hurdles along the way because you're learning as you go if you didn't have that mentor. At least I found I had someone in this space that was a mentor for me, but there was a lot more things that I didn't dig deeper into, ask more questions on, and as time went on, I learned. But as an entrepreneur, you are HR, you are payroll. I mean, you're handling everything. You're dealing with the taxes, just everything that comes with. When you mentioned the food inspector, I was meant to ask, how was that? Because when I had the inspections for the permits for my office space, that was terrifying. That was a nightmare. Every time they came in, I felt like they were looking for any reason to just fail us. How did that go for you when you were at the Slammers? You mentioned the food inspector came out.
Yeah. So like, here's the thing with health department
Mm-hmm.
stuff. As long as you're as long as you're honest, you follow the rules, and you're pleasant to deal with, and you listen to what they say, and you follow through on those things, you're fine. It will be a very challenging situation for you if you make it challenging for yourself in that space. So I have a very good reputation with the health department in my county, and they know that I'm going to label all of my food items. I'm going to make sure that things are clean and sanitized, and I have, you have to take a course and then pass an exam to get a food manager certificate. That's good for 5 years, and but it teaches you all the different things, and even now at home, it's like I put things on certain shelves in the fridge the way it's supposed to be. And Laura's like, why? And I'm like, my brain is wired that way. It's just a different perspective. But with that, as long as you're really good with them, upfront with them, and you do things when they ask you to, and that kind of stuff, then you have no issues. At least I haven't had any. And um,
Let me ask you, Tom. Now that you've been in this space for 3 years, what have you learned, or what has stood out to you or what was something that you felt that you wish you would have known but prior to getting into it, or anything like that?
I think the biggest thing for me prior to getting into it, I didn't have a mentor right away. I have someone now in the actual barbecue industry, 35 years plus. Have a great relationship with him. He's Mark Link from Uncle Bub's Barbecue.
Okay.
Um, anytime I have a question, I could text him. I can, call him if he's available. He'll talk with me and stuff. In fact, at one point he saved me because my both of my smokers went out, and I had a catering gig for 200 people,
Wow.
and I called him up and I'm like, I'm so sorry about it. Yeah, I'm like, but my smokers are out and I know what to fix, but I'm waiting for the parts. If I trimmed my briskets and brought my pork butts out to you, can you smoke them for me? Didn't even bat an eye. Saved that whole gig for me. He's always been really good. He's like, he when I went in and I talked to him, I wish I would have sat and talked to him like when I first started, because he just instilled some wisdom in the of the industry. I'm like, man, I really wish I would have known that when I started. But you know, I think the biggest thing for me is you can't walk into it thinking you're going to have immediate success, and you can't walk into it thinking that you're going to be blazing in gazillions of dollars. And then, not that I thought I would, I knew it was going to be hard. Um, but I think the biggest thing is a good friend of mine. He's actually my accountant, and we've been through war together. Um, and he had an episode in April where he had a stroke.
Oh wow.
Um, and he's pursuing some things now. He has his own podcast, but Ruben Ramirez, he's like a brother in arms for me, and he he was right there in the trenches with me that whole early on, and he's still helping me do things. And I just remember like sitting with sitting with him, and before he had a stroke, like years ago, he wrote a book,
Wow,
and
impressive.
it's called The Zero Effect, and
I've heard that book.
he hasn't published it yet.
Really? Is
Yeah,
there a book similar to that? 'Cause that title
maybe.
sounds familiar.
I don't know, but like this book, like he's like, hey, I want you to read the manuscript and give me your
Okay.
feedback, and I was like, okay, and I'm helping him design things. I'm working on it, helping him work on his website and stuff. But um, honestly, like I read that book, and it was like my whole first 2 years, full 2 years in business, especially this past year. And the whole idea is, you go through this circle, and either you're going to continue to, most people just continue to go through the circle, and a lot of them don't go through the other loop through the other side to create an infinity,
Okay.
a constant flow of motion. And it was just incredibly interesting. And uh, that I went through all of that, and it was funny because I was sitting down with him, catching up with him like about a month ago, and I was like, I used to be that guy that it was just kind of going around in circles, especially this past year. I was like, but I find it finally connected with me, and now I've got that constant state of flow. It's like the whole thing where you start an entity or you start anything in your life and you're excited and you got that motion, everything's forward. You're
Yeah.
just cooking, and then all of a sudden you have that realization, and then you're like, oh man, and then it gets into your head, and then you go through the down spot, and then you find yourself back through, and then you find yourself with hope again. And
Yeah.
then the idea is to get through that stuff, but then continue making change to continue that flow instead of just flowing in one constant thing, because then you're just spinning your wheels is basically the I hope I'm explaining this correctly, but it can easily get that way. So I really wish, like, and there's really no way of learning it until you go through it. I think that's the biggest thing I learned. A lot of trial, a lot of tribulation, a lot of things were like, oh man, this is gonna be great. Didn't turn out so great. Um, and just I think the biggest thing is learning from that stuff and not repeating it, even
Yeah.
though you're gonna repeat some things over again because you're human, you can't help yourself. But if you don't repeat the stuff that damages you so badly, then you're okay.
Love that.
Yeah.
Now, you're the one individual that provided me with a book that the title led with "Start with Your Why."
Yeah.
How did you apply that in your business? What was your why to start this business with it?
My why, outside of my family, because that's who I do everything for. My why was really just to provide an experience and to be of service to others. That was my why. Like, and for me, the best way I knew how to do that was through barbecue and food, because I started getting people are like, why aren't you just doing this for a business? You're so into this. You're telling me like what like cherry wood does and to this and flavor profiles and stuff. Why aren't you just doing this stuff? And I'm like, well, it's a whole thing. You got to jump, take a leap, and when you got two kids and a family and a mortgage and bills, and are you gonna, so but that is my why. My why really comes down to, and it's my mission, is create an environment for people to recharge and reconnect through food, and if I can be that vessel for individuals to do that, then I've won.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say are your top three dishes that you make that's on your menu for those that want to reach out and
By
cater?
far brisket.
Okay.
Um, it all comes down to the trim, and it really comes down to the prep work up front. And obviously, you cook it. It pretty much cooks. Everyone says they have their techniques and stuff, and they do, but it's the trim and how you handle that, and then it's also the rest at the end and how you do that. And so brisket, pulled pork is always a favorite. And then on the sides, people really love I do bacon jam Brussels sprouts.
Okay.
So I'll make bacon jam and then smoke the Brussels sprouts and then roast it at the end. And people really enjoy the mac and cheese. I do pit beans, which I do in cast iron.
Okay.
Um, those kind of things. So, and the turkey, people love turkey, and for whatever reason, everyone is astonished and shocked that I don't um, marinate or inject my chicken, but like I'll do chicken thighs and I'll smoke those,
Okay.
and then chicken wings. So yeah, like pretty much all that stuff, and smoked cream cheese. Everybody loves
Smoked
smoked cream
cream cheese.
cheese.
That sounds delicious. I
Yeah,
haven't tried that.
yeah, and you could do a couple. I'll do my own because I do my own sauce. I do my own rub, so I'll do like in my own rub. But then also everything bagel seasoning. It
Okay.
works out really good for that too, and it's the easiest thing to do, and it's delicious, and so people request that a lot. But brisket is always the top. When I bring brisket around and ribs,
Mm.
like so one of my good friends, Taji, he always jokes around with me that I'm the rib king of the Midwest, which I'm always like, all right. But he's like, your ribs are awesome. So, but brisket, everyone will always be like, are you bringing brisket? Or do you have brisket available? Can I get brisket? So, and that's a hard meat to do. It's probably one of the hardest in barbecue because it's two different muscles. You got
Mm-hmm.
your flat and your point, and
Okay.
they both cook at different ratios and times. And yeah, it's a whole science and an art, and picking the right woods and just all of it. Yeah,
Definitely an art.
yeah.
Awesome. For those that are watching and they're thinking, okay, now I'm hungry. Now I want to reach out to Tom. What steps do they take to reach out to you, whether it be through social media platforms, website, phone number? If you don't
Yeah.
mind, just letting them
So
know.
yeah, I mean, you can contact me through my Facebook page, Weiler Barbecue, Instagram, Weiler Barbecue. You can DM me on both of those. You go to weilerbarbecue.com. On there, I have a full catering menu. So, and you can even do an inquiry on there, and I'll get back to you through my catering system. Um, you can call me at 630-216-9179, or email me at tom@weilerbbq.com. And that's
Okay.
probably the best ways to get in touch with me. Yeah.
Perfect. You heard it, familia y amigos. You have to reach out to Tom. If you're having any event coming up, if you work somewhere that maybe you know someone in corporate leadership that's looking to have food cater, have them reach out to Tom. He's a great man of God, great husband, father. He cares about what he does. He cooks things with a lot of great flavor, and you're not going to be disappointed. So reach out to Tom Weiler. You heard him directly at what ways to go about it. There's several options. Take a look at his menu. You're going to love it. All right. Tom, I really appreciate you
Thanks,
coming
man.
on our show,
Thank
sharing your
you.
story. Before we end this episode, I do always ask, is there anything else you want to add that's going to create that teachable experience for someone, that learning opportunity for them? I believe you shared a lot of that with your experience 3 years into your business journey. But is there anything else you'd like to close us out with?
I think a lot of it is don't wait on the sidelines to get started, even if you just want to dip your toe in the sand. Because I started by doing like a ghost kitchen situation where I still have my full-time job, but I was doing stuff on the weekends. And even if you are, you're doing that stuff after your work or on the weekends and you're a weekend warrior, definitely do it, because you don't want to get to the end of your life and then have any regrets that you didn't at least try. Um, and then, so I would just say that just pursue your dreams. And if you're going to do something in your life with regards to a career, just make sure it's something that makes you happy.
You heard it directly from my good friend here, Tom Weiler, founder and owner of Weiler Barbecue. Reach out to Tom if you're having that event. Connect with him. He's going to be able to help you. As as always, I appreciate you watching our episode. As you know, Don't Limit Your Identity Foundation is a nonprofit that's at the startup phase. We're looking to work with the youth starting from fifth grade all the way to senior year, offering financial literacy workshops, workforce development. What if college is not for me? What are some other alternative options? If you'd like to visit our website, www.don'tlimityouridenty.com. If you feel led to donate, there's an option there to donate. As I said, our goal is to be able to help impact our youth, provide them with options, and see how we can make their future much more brighter for them. Thank you again. Take care, and God bless.